I kind of always assumed I'd get a job, just like work a job like for the rest of my life. I mean, I did have other goals in mind. Like when I was in high school, I was really enjoying playing music. I wanted to be a rock star. I wanted to start a band, make music somehow. And I continued that in college. Like I started producing my own music. I started, posting it online, getting it out there. And in college, I was just studying things that were interesting to me. Like I didn't really pick a major with a job or a career in mind. I just thought like, well, English is interesting to me. Psychology sounds interesting. I recently had a good experience in therapy, so I thought it'd be fun to learn and help other people. I guess that was I thought like maybe I'd be a psychologist, a therapist. And it turned out that there's like a big emphasis on graduate degrees to be a therapist. Like you pretty much can't be a psychologist without a graduate degree. And I wasn't like that psyched on it to continue in grad school. So I got a job and it was really cool at the time. Like I learned a lot. My uncle runs a IT support business and he gave me a job there, and I learned a lot. I learned a ton about computers there, and I really enjoyed working with them. And I didn't really see any other option. Like I knew, like I talked about before, like at every job I eventually just, I don't know, get bored, I'm ready to do something else. Like I stop worrying so much about pleasing the people there, and I start realizing that, I don't know, that I don't want to stay there. But I never considered like starting a business as like the way out of that. Like I never even thought that was for me. My brother did some he had his own business in middle school even. He was making and selling duct tape wallets. And he also did some like extracurricular business stuff. Like I knew the possibilities, but for some reason, I don't know, that never seemed interesting to me. And I think it's because I always considered myself an artist. Like I make stuff. I want to be creative. I don't want to worry about numbers and marketing and trying to sell stuff to people. It just seemed like the opposite of what I wanted. Like I had this mindset that I could just make stuff, good stuff, like work on my craft and improve and learn and be successful that way. And I think, ironically, it's actually true. But there are some business elements that you need to incorporate, and it's not that bad. But as a result of not being open to the idea of doing my own thing, of starting a business, I just assumed I'd have a job. And even when I became bored or unhappy in the jobs that I had, I would just assume like, okay, I just need to find a different job. And like I got really into like the FIRE movement for a bit, like stands for financial independence, retire early, something like that. And it's all about basically like spending as little of your paycheck as you can, or as little of your income as you can, and saving as much as possible, putting that into index funds and letting that compound and grow. And depending on how much you save, you could potentially retire in like 10 years, 15 years. I was into that for a bit. And then because I don't know, I felt like that was the way out of jobs. Like I just put my head down. I work at some jobs for 10 years, and then I don't increase my lifestyle spending, and then I'll be able to retire, and then I can work on what I want to work on. Like retiring for me didn't mean just like mad chilling on the beach, although that's a valid part of it. But I felt like once I had the money, I could let go of the pressure of having to have a job and just focus on like what matters to me. And I'm not saying that jobs are a bad thing. I think for many, possibly for most people, having a job is great. It's probably the best thing. They're a great way to get skills. You get paid to learn, essentially. So that's awesome. And if I could do it again, there's definitely some huge benefit in gaining skills at a job before you jump off and do your own thing. And a lot of people are totally fine with like having their job and their life as separate things. They don't have to get meaning from their work. They can get meaning and fulfillment from the stuff they do on the side, like hobbies and spending time with the people they love and just exploring stuff that's interesting to them. And that's super cool. Like if you have that balance, that's a great balance to have. I think the common like rhetoric is that jobs are safer and more secure. Like you'll always have a paycheck. But dude, okay, listen, that's like That's copium. Like, okay, so when you have a job, you're working in someone else's business. Presumably, like if they know what they're doing, especially if you work at like a big business, some huge company with a huge, like a proven track record. Like, yeah, you might think there's not like these people aren't going to go out of business. I'm always going to have my job. I'm always going to have my paycheck. But that's not true. Businesses, they shut stuff down all the time, especially big businesses. Companies like Amazon, Google, Facebook, they place a lot of value in experimenting and taking risks. And that's because they have the money to do that. And sometimes those risks pay off, but a lot of times they don't. And the people who are working on those projects get moved to another project or they get laid off. I mean, I'm sure it's got to be safe-ish. Like it's reasonably safe for sure. But I don't think it's as safe as people make it out to be. There's layoffs all the time. And if you're working on a small business, I mean, those things go out of business or they get bought. Like the point of this is that if you have a job, you're working in someone else's business. And the only reason that's perceived to be less risky than working in your own business is because they know what they're doing, presumably, and they have a track record. But once you know what you're doing, once you learn what they know, like the risk is similar. What's the difference? They're not that much smarter than you. They're probably not any smarter than you. Like all these world-class people at these big organizations, most of them aren't like turbo geniuses. They're smart, they're driven. And you can be that too. There's nothing that they can do that you can't do. This is like, I don't mean this as like the arrogant point of view that like all these people do nothing and like all the functions of this company are irrelevant except for like what you do. I mean it in a positive way that you can do it. Once you know how, it's not hard. It's not like a big secret. And I don't know how. I'm learning how. But I'm confident that I can do it. And the benefit of that is you're free to work on what matters to you. And maybe you're working on something, if you're working on something that matters to you, your job, that's fucking awesome. You found a good job. You're probably, like for me, I was working on something like adjacent at best, like something that's kind of interesting to me. Like that's probably the best I can say for it. With great working conditions, like not having to interact with customers that much, not just, being able to work from home, being able to work by myself on my own projects. But like kind of interesting isn't like, it's not like the selling point that I dreamed of. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't like, oh man, when I grow up, I hope I get to work on something kind of interesting to me. like dude, I want to work on shit that fires me up. And I realized, I probably read online somewhere, you're going to be working on somebody's dream no matter what. If you're not working on your dream, you're getting paid, somebody's going to hire you to work on theirs. And that can be great depending on where you are in your life, in your headspace. But if you realize that it's not for you, that's okay too. And maybe that's a good path, like having a job so you can learn skills, you can meet people, you can learn the ins and outs of an industry or several industries. And then using that as a lens to like inform what you want to do next for yourself. And I'm really grateful that whatever time I get right now where I'm not working at a job and I get to work on my own shit, like I'm so grateful to have that time. And a big part of that is sharing ideas like this, talking to you, and I'm grateful for that too. I'm really grateful. So thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Be nice to yourself today, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.